The next question goes like this. If so many people are depressed, if so many people are unhappy, if so many people really are not living their best lives, or what they envisage living, becoming, rising up to as a child, what's the problem? And barring any socio-economic problems, barring any problems where human rights issues are prevalent, most of it, most of it is internal. And one of the biggest ones is environment. Many people have others around them who don't believe in the levels that they want to reach. And while that's fine in that you cannot control what others believe and you cannot control people, really, it affects individuals a lot. Look at kids who grow up, who have teachers who really were not very confident in their prospects. Look at many kids who had lots of sporting potential, but they never did anything with it. Look at many professionals who really had so much potential and they just fell by the wayside. So most people, a lot of people really never really get to the levels that they want to go because of this judgment from others, because of this negativity that's around them, because of they internalizing in many different forms, others telling them that they cannot do it. They cannot be more than they are right now. They cannot be more than their current families have. They cannot earn more than their families on average earn. And that stops most people. That is where many limiting beliefs start. And that is something that's very, very unfortunate. And as I read these, as you listen to me enumerate, I want you to really take some time and focus on you and see where potentially that may be the case for you right now. And secondly, we have self pity. Most people, we all tell ourselves stories. And really, people who have a victim mentality typically tell themselves on repeat very negative stories or find ways to justify poor decision making or a bad current situation that they're directly responsible for. And this is something that we have to be conscious of. And also, this is something that we really need to ensure that we don't let affect us because others around you will see that in someone else and you will be tempted to adopt the same mentality as well. Next, we have self-doubt. And this one really speaks to limited beliefs and speaks to really the inability to move towards what you really want. You have more voices in your head. And as I speak, I'm trying to speak in a very simplistic tone on purpose because I really want to speak to the hearts of you, the one listening, the one watching. Most people who struggle with self doubt have a low self image and they really do not see themselves being where they really want to go, yet they want to get there. So clearly, there is a mismatch between desire and actual result. And such doubt, despite having the right circumstances, despite having the right family, despite having money, the right connections, prevents most people, a lot of people, from actually doing the things that they should be doing to get to where that they really want to. On the other hand, those who have less, because of the stories that they've been telling themselves, they use that lack, whether it's them personally or the environment, to justify not going after their larger goals. And they end up playing safe. They end up staying small. So that's another factor here. And lastly here, the other one really is that most people, they're afraid to do something first. They're afraid to be the pioneers who have the great ideas, who really take action and Be that individual who sets the trend. No one wants to set the trend. No one wants to fail. No one wants to put the idea out there and risk it not working as well as it should. Now, that might sound overly simplistic, but really it comes from a lack of self-esteem in that they don't believe that they are unique, they have something unique to share, they have something unique to present to the world. They don't believe in really their own sense of humility, their own sense of really being entitled to what they really, really want and getting there. So these are just some of the factors that really sabotage many individuals. And personally, those around you, you have to really ensure that you look out for those. And you really look out for those more important in yourself and how and what you could do to mitigate those. Now, a couple of others. Shame. Many of us have many repressed issues, especially from childhood, where there were various people in our lives who really did not support us. And their negative speech, their negative conditioning really damaged us. It damaged our self confidence, it damaged our self worth. And many times with therapy, you could actually go back and resolve those. But the hardest ones to resolve are those that you never knew that you had, right? And really, these are some of the hardest blockages to remove. And it is one that you really have to pay attention to. And we all have things that we've done that we're not proud of. We all have made mistakes. We all have done things that were not, I mean, I would say not so ethical, right? But life goes on and you're here, so you have to take a chance. And mentally, you have to let go of any guilt, any shame, any negative self image from a situation in the past to allow you to become the person that you truly want to be. Past conflicts. Many of us have many open loops and many bad relationships that we never gain closure from. Whether it was from our parents, we never had a good relationship with maybe your father or your mother, and maybe they passed. And you may believe that you healed, but as you move along throughout the days, throughout the months, the years, and you have your own children, for example, a lot of those insecurities you portrayed onto them. And yes, you're in a position of authority, especially with your kids or especially with your new responsibility. Maybe you own a business, but this past situation that you've actually forgotten is still tugging at you in ways that you don't even realize or understand. And it may be what blocking you from going to the next level. One of the things that one of the things that we have to realize is that almost nothing is unexplainable. And let me put that in context because there are many unexplained and unsolved mysteries. Many of the things that we believe have no cause, have no reason, is typically because of something that we do not know is the case. And with regards to beliefs, with regards to reaching our full potential, with regards to really finding out and making the changes required to become the people that we truly are excited about, these things hold us back. And the fact that, to tie into the final one, the fact that we believe our situations are unique, we believe our problems are special, we believe that, you know, there is none like us. In one sense, very unique, but someone hasn't answered this problem before. Someone hasn't gone through what we've gone through. And we use that to justify about why our situation is so special, why our case is different. And that is simply not the case. Yes, like I said, we are unique. However, we have to ensure that we really look at our situation, look at what we're going through for what it actually is. And the ability to do that reflection is something that most people find difficult. It's something that most people find scary, to be honest, because it puts them on the spot. It makes them feel uncomfortable. It makes them feel like they're not worthy, like they failed. And that's uncomfortable. But really, these blocks have to be removed. And it's extremely important. I mean, you see people who have so much potential, people who really, you can tell they haven't done it on a bigger stage. They haven't really done it for all to see, but you know they have it in them. A lot of times, it's because they're holding on to some story about why they couldn't, they wouldn't, they shouldn't, and it's very sad. So, personally, you need to really ensure that you're aware of all of those and you write them down, first of all, and you look at them without hiding, without delusion, for what they actually are. Now, let's look at some people who, I don't want to say have beat the odds, because many people have, but many people who have gone on to really achieve what others deemed was impossible before. And one of them is, as we know, Usain Bolt, Jamaican athlete. And previously, he broke the world record in 9.15 seconds. Previously, many scientists said it was impossible for someone to do that. They said, based on their calculations, based on their studies, that a human couldn't possibly run that fast. Yet he did it. And really, this goes to show the power of the mind, one, the power of really believing that it can be done and actually going out and doing it. Next, we have the 4 minute mile, Roger Bannister. In 1962, many people believed it was impossible. And after he doing it, many others began to do it as well. In fact, in the next 5 years thereafter, three more people actually run a mile in under 4 minutes. So the idea here, as I approach my final example, the idea here is to realize that we're as capable as we believe and as we think we actually are. And that is something that you really have to pay attention to. And you have to pay attention to it insofar as others attempt to project a low self image on you, or others directly or indirectly attempt to tell you what you can't do. And one of my best examples is, as we all know, Nick Vujicic. I'm not sure if I butchered his name, but that's the best that I can do. He was born with no arms and no legs. And yet, his condition is actually called tetramilia syndrome. Yet, he has grown up, he has a wife and three beautiful children. Actually, most people actually be envious of. He has grown up to become immensely successful. Speaker, preacher, very well accomplished. And I purposely chose these examples to show that really the limiter, despite potential limitations based on where we live, these are nowhere to the degree that we limit ourselves. These are nowhere to the degree that in our minds that we really are the ones stopping ourselves. Okay? Whether it's you want that next promotion, whether you want to start this next business. Someone has done it before. We're about to jump into some specifics very soon. How? Someone has had to do it despite working a full-time job before. How did they do it? So really, the problem is us. And unless we choose to view it that way, nothing will happen. Because most people subconsciously blame another entity. We blame the government. We blame Trump, not to be political. I'm not in the US, so I'm not taking sides there. We blame the economy. However, the catalyst of all those is actually someone. And the catalyst, more importantly, of what you really want to do is you. Now, I know this sounds general. I know this sounds not necessarily flowery, but I know this sounds a little maybe vague. But think of it this way. Let's say you grew up in a poor neighborhood and really your family had low prospects. Maybe your family even passed sadly when you were younger. Does that mean despite this situation, despite this living situation, that is what your success will be determined by? Maybe you had a child in your teenage years. Maybe you were incarcerated. Does that define your future? I mean, we could substitute this for many, many other stories. But what I really want to impress upon you is that it is all stories. Even hearing those individuals, seeing them on the media, these are all stories. That is their story. They chose for it to be that way. And so must you do the same. And what I'm trying to really get to is to have you remove the need for the excuse that you cannot do what you truly want. And on that note, we all have something that truly inspires us. And for those of you listening, one thing I would invite you to do right now is to write down, and that is something I do with my clients, write down what are three things in the next year. We're in January 2020. By December, what are three things that would truly excite you? What is the amount of money extra that you want to make? What is really health wise? What is your next goal? Maybe you want to lose a dress size. What is that thing that would really, and I don't want you to solely be that it sounds realistic, but what would really excite you, right? What if I offered it to you right now and you would grab it immediately, selfishly? What is that thing? And the only way you would know is when it brings out an emotional response in you. And let me caution you against ignoring this because many people, that is where they play small. And that is where typically I challenge people to be more, to do more, you know? And I challenge you, whatever you think that you could do, try doing it, try doing 15 or 20% more. Okay? And really, you will see where your comfort zone is at. And more importantly, you will really have the courage, especially when you aim for more, to begin moving there. Next, next, what I really want you to realize is that despite the examples, and I know all of us cannot be using those, and I have Donald Trump there, and this is not political, by the way. What is so impressive about what he's done is that he did with no political experience. And although I have all these seemingly illustrious speakers, why aren't you there? Right? And it need not be solely financial, right? You don't need to be the next multi-millionaire, the next billionaire, the next Olympic gold medalist. But in terms of your pinnacle of achievement, why isn't your name there? And I'm not talking about literally your name being in front here. I'm talking about you really reaching a place in life where you're deeply fulfilled. You on purpose, challenged, achieving your biggest goals, and you feel unstoppable. Why isn't that you? And what I really want to impress on you as well is that you have every bit of a right to be there. But it's not for me to say, it's for you to believe and move to it.